Good morning, everyone. A couple years ago, I was 8 years old. I turned 8. I was in Montreal, and my mom was in Haiti. I left my grandmother's house at 7 years old because she was going through a divorce. She couldn't house me anymore. A family friend of my father, she took me in. For some reason, out of the goodness of her heart, she was like, I will take care of this child. And I can't tell you what it felt like to move, because at that point I was 8 years old. I've moved across 2 countries. I've moved across 5 places already. So moving wasn't too uncommon for me. So I don't remember that memory of moving. Was I scared? Was I excited? What was it like to live with somebody that was in family? What I can tell you, and what I can remind myself of the feelings, was how great of a childhood it was very picturesque. I had an entire basement to myself. So that means I had a kitchen, I had a bathroom, I had this massive room, I had basically everything I wanted as a kid. I had people that loved me. Like, I felt as though they were my family. It was a very, very nice feeling. Unfortunately, it wasn't picture perfect. When I was 8 years old, the girl I was living with, well, her daughter, she was in middle school, so about 12 to 14 years old. She had a video game system. She had a Nintendo, and I really, really, really like video games. So she used that as a way for her to experiment with me. Like, it started with kissing. She would make me kiss her X amount of times so I could play the video game. It led to other things that I don't really want to share. But that was the first time this happened to me. And I was a little child by myself. The way I figured out what to do was to stay quiet. I didn't want anybody to know. Not because I thought it was wrong, like I was in the wrong for this happening. I thought she was wrong to do this. I knew there was something wrong with it. I just didn't want anybody else to feel responsible for what happened. I didn't want my mom to feel terrible that she left her son, because that's a very hard thing. I'm not a parent yet. I would imagine it would be very hard for your kid to tell you this happened to them. It's very hard to handle. So I didn't want to tell my mom. I didn't tell anybody. I was scared that people will feel guilty. And growing up, I was scared that people will feel as I'm weak, or they would treat me a different way because of what happened. So I didn't tell anybody for a really, really long time. And this became how I handled sexual harassment. It happened, unfortunately, often enough. It happened in middle school. It happened from family friends. It happened from peers. It happened from teachers. So it happened across a lot of places. And I did not know how to handle it. Well, actually I did. My handling was just not telling anybody. It was how you handle that. Which eventually I became an adult. I became strong enough to protect myself. And I had a lady actually assault me. I was helping her with her manager. And at first it started fine. We were just close. She started touching me, which is okay. I can live with that. It happens. She was on the phone with her husband. Her manager was on the phone with her husband. So I was a little confused as to how she was comfortable touching me. She was married with her husband for longer than I've been alive at that point. So I was very confused. And it started getting a little bit more. She started touching my chest, which we're in the middle of a store. There's a bunch of people around. And this lady feels like she has the audacity to touch me like that. And then she unzips my sweater. I had a sweater on, she just unzips it in the middle of a floor with people, and just not her and myself. There's just a bunch of people with her phone, with her husband on the phone. So when this happened, I wasn't scared for my safety because I knew I could push her away. So that's one thing I wasn't scared. I was mostly surprised and confused as to what to do. Because if she feels like she's able to do this, and everybody else is looking, and no one is saying anything, what do I do? Is staying quiet what I'm supposed to do. And for a really long time, I thought I was the only person, well, male, because that dealt with it. And I spoke to friends, family, and unfortunately, I'm not the only person. A lot of us have gone through these things, which led to me sharing this with, I was part of a community, and one of our speakers shared that something happened to her. She said, me too. And I shared within that group what happened. Well, just me too. I didn't say what happened, and no one was there to really be there for me. Like, they were there for other people. And I'm assuming it was a gender thing, I'm not entirely sure. Which then led me to reading what the Me Too movement was about, which according to definition is the awareness movement around the issue of sexual harassment and sexual abuse of women in the workplace. Now, the point of me sharing my story is to share that the boys and the men in your life do go through this, that we do need to have an inclusive environment. It's not to say that women should talk about their sexual harassment. That's not the result of what I want to get out of this. It's just that we also go through it. We are victims. We're not always just a perpetrator, because there's this depiction that men are always a perpetrator, and if a male is a victim, it's by another male, which is not true, unfortunately. And when I was writing the speech, I was like, what could I tell my child if this happens to my child? How do I prepare? Because this happened to my dad, it happened to me at the same age. So this is something that could happen to my son. And what I would want to tell my son is first to let him know if anything happens, it's not his fault. He doesn't have to carry the burden. He can let me know about it. I've had somebody share with me what the parents did was remove the child away completely from that situation. So that is something that I plan on doing if that ever happens. I don't want that to happen. And in case somebody shares with you guys in your personal lives about their experience, what I highly recommend just to listen is the easiest thing, it's the most important one. And one thing somebody did, which I think was terrible, so I'll let you guys know not to do it, was after I told them the experience as an 8-year-old, they asked me if I enjoyed it. And I really, really did not like that. At the time, I forgave them because it is what it is. I just thought it was a terrible way to go about it. And I want you to know not to do it. Thank you for listening.